بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Welcome to this introduction for this new series entitled Questions That the Companions Asked the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now, of course, as we know, asking questions is a very important tool. It's a tool that's very important that helps us gain knowledge and learn information. And that important tool, just like every other tool, could be used in a correct way, and it could be used in an incorrect way, in a wrong way. And depending on how it's used, if it's used properly, the outcome would be very different, depending on how it was used. If someone uses a tool in a right way, in a correct way, in a good way, then the outcome might be positive. If someone wrongs the tool, someone used the tool in a wrong way, then the outcome might be very negative, very different than that what was intended. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنْتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. Ask the people of dhikr, of remembrance, of knowledge, the scholars, meaning ask the scholars, people who know, if you do not know. If you don't know, then ask the people who do know. Ask the people of knowledge. Jabir, radiallahu anh, the companion of the Prophet ﷺ, narrates a hadith, a story. He said, we went out traveling, the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, in a group, and one of the companions, one of the people, got hit on his head by a rock, and so he got hurt. His head got hurt. He got injured. And when he went to sleep at night, he had a wet dream. So when he woke up the following morning, he wanted to take a bath, of course, to pray. And so he asked his friends, his companions, the people who were with him in that group who were traveling. He said, do you find any concession for me to perform tayammum? In other words, so I don't have to perform a bath to perform ghusl. Do you think that I have a rukhsa to perform tayammum instead of taking a bath? So they said, no, we don't think that that you have a concession for that. We don't think that you have that concession, that you can make tayammum instead of taking a bath, because you have water, you have access to water, you're able to take a bath, then you have to take a bath. You don't have a rukhsa for tayammum instead of taking a bath. So he performed ghusl, he took a bath, and he died because of that, because his head was injured from the rock that hit his head. And then he took a bath. Because of that, it got complicated, and he died. He died from that. And so when they went back to the Prophet ﷺ, the Prophet ﷺ was told about what had happened. So the Prophet ﷺ said, قَتَلُوهُ قَتَلَهُمُ اللَّهُ. They killed him, may Allah kill them. Because of their ignorance, because of them giving him this incorrect fatwa that they made him take a bath instead of making tayammum, and that resulted in his death, they killed him because of their ignorance. And the Prophet ﷺ continued, said, shouldn't they have asked if they didn't know? For indeed, the cure for not knowing is asking. The cure for not knowing is asking. So if someone doesn't know, they shouldn't speak without knowledge, but rather the solution to not knowing is asking. Ask if you don't know. So it's important, as we see, it's important to know who to ask. It's important to know also what to ask. It's important to know what to ask. So asking, the right people of knowledge, people who know, scholars, knowing who to ask is very important. It's also important to know what to ask, to know what questions to ask. Again, because depending on what you ask and how the question is phrased and what you're asking, the answer is going to build on the question. So it's important to know what to ask. The Prophet ﷺ says in another hadith, he said, whatever I forbid you from, then avoid it, stay away from it. And whatever I command you to do, then do from it as much as you can, whatever you can. To the best of your ability, try to do it. Whatever I command you to do, try to the best of your ability to do it. For indeed, what destroyed the people who came before you, asking a lot of questions. What destroyed the people who came before you, them asking a lot of questions and differing or opposing their prophets. Those who came before us, Prophet ﷺ is mentioning two things that led to their loss, to them being doomed, which is asking too many questions, and that ties back to knowing what to ask. asking the right questions, asking good questions. And the second thing that they did was opposing or disagreeing, differing, and not following and disobeying their prophets and messengers. As we know from the story of Musa alayhi salam, which Allah mentions in the Quran, when he told his people, وَإِذْ قَالَ مُوسَى لِقَوْمِهِ, when Musa told his people, إِنَّ اللَّهَ يَأْمُرُكُمْ أَن تَذْبَحُوا بَقَرَةً, indeed Allah commands you to slaughter a cow. Allah didn't specify, Musa alayhi salam didn't specify to them what type of cow, what description, what details. He just said, Allah commands you to slaughter a cow. So any cow would have sufficed, would have done the job. They should have just simply followed that command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah's commanding you to slaughter a cow, just slaughter a cow. Very simple. But as we know from all the verses that followed that in Surah Al-Baqarah, Bani Israel kept asking Musa alayhi salam question after question, question after question, asking for the description of the cow, the age, the color, so many characteristics of the cow that they were asking about that were specified. Till the end, they had a very specific type of cow that they had had a very defined characteristics that they had to slaughter. And Allah says at the end that they slaughtered it, and they almost didn't. They barely slaughtered it, in other words, because they've asked so many questions. Again, so we see that this wasn't the right way to go about asking questions. It wasn't the right type of questions they should have been asking. Asking questions, again, is a very important tool, but it's important for us to ask the right questions, not the wrong questions. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran that we're born, Allah brought us out from our mother's wombs, not knowing anything. We're born, we don't know anything. So asking is one of the tools through which we seek knowledge, through which we learn. Allah gave us that tool. And Allah said in the rest of that verse, He has made for us, has given us our hearing, our eyesight, and our hearts so that we may be thankful. Our ability to think and learn, and our senses, so that we may seek knowledge, learn. We're born not knowing anything, and through all these tools that Allah has given us, we learn. And so, asking the right questions is very critical because it's a very important tool. And the difference between asking the right questions and the wrong questions are what's going to give you the desired outcome if you know what questions to ask, who to ask them of, and asking good questions. There are such things as good questions and bad questions, as we saw from the story of Musa alayhi salam with his people, telling them to slaughter a cow, and all these questions they asked. These were examples of bad questions to be asking. They shouldn't have been asking about these things. Too many questions for no purpose or reason. They shouldn't have asked these questions. And there is such a thing as good questions. Questions that are purposeful, that are intelligent, that helps a person learn and actually helps them get to a positive desired outcome. And subhanAllah, there's a lot of research and data today on the importance of asking questions and the type of questions, and that's a field that has been extensively studied by a lot of professors. A lot of people have done research on that in recent times, and even today you'll find a lot online, a lot of resources, a lot of discussions and research and data on the importance of asking questions, the value of asking the right questions, that sort of thing. So this is an issue that is very important and critical. So inshallah, in this episode, again, we'll try to keep these episodes short as well. In every episode of the series, we'll take an example of a question that the companions asked the Prophet ﷺ, or one of the companions asked the Prophet ﷺ, and the focus will be on the question that is being asked, so we can take some lessons from that, inshallah ta'ala. And as always, with all these series that we do, all of these episodes, all these videos, everything that we mention, inshallah ta'ala, is authentic. So that's a very important thing to mention, that everything we will base these off are mentioned in authentic hadith, authentic narrations that have been established from the Prophet ﷺ and his companions. Barakallahu anhum ajma'in. Barakallahu fikum, jazakumullah khaira, wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.